What's going on, guys? King of Justice, Issue 2. This was one that I believe I explained that I came across it, at least the first issue, through somebody else's stream. I think it was A Drink with Crazy. And it looked pretty interesting. This is a more Christian-based independent comic. I think you definitely get the idea that it's a faith-based one, but I don't think it's like in your face kind of thing. I think we're still having a fun story and just using faith as a means of describing how our main character gets his powers. So, to kind of quickly catch us up to where we're at, this over here, this is Jaden, and he was a bum living in the streets, sleeping in the garbage, and the god Elohim invites him up to like a lake at a mountainside where he blesses him with powers. Now, he is reborn as Melchizedek, or Mel for short. And upon him getting powers, it kind of like overloaded his brain, at least that's how I interpreted it. He passes out. Two people find him. One is a girl named, or at least a young lady named Eva, and then her unnamed uncle. And they were not the only ones that were on the lookout for him. So while Eva and her uncle are trying to figure out what he's doing there, what Mel's doing there, there is an assassin that comes over and also wants to take care of Mel. Now, fortunately for everybody, Mel comes to and tells Eva, hey, I'm going to handle this. And mostly Mel handles it. There is a slight assist from Eva because she does have superpowers as well. This is a world where superpowered individuals exist, and she is one of them. She aids him, but ultimately he takes care of the assassin and then blacks out again, and Eva and her uncle decide, okay, hey, let's take him on home and get him some rest and see if he needs anything else. And then our story finishes with a bald evil man, and he's like, oh, Elohim has summoned his champion, I see. Well, it's time to get ours. And we see this guy in a like tube with like a breathing device in there. And that is where our story is going to continue here. So, story and art both done by Andrew Rowland. And so this is Chapter 2, Jason. And so here we have Jason. He's still in his little tube, but now he's waking up. And this is very alarming for all the scientists in the vicinity. And we see that this is a little early. They need to alert Dr. Babel or Babel and get him aware of the situation. So Jason does fully wake up. He destroys his confinement and moves on his way. Now we see like all the scientists, they're all freaking out, and Jason is floating. So he definitely is a superpowered individual, and flight is one of the things that he has. And I would imagine that this is trying to demonstrate that super strength is part of it as he stomps about, grabs a jacket, and moves on his way. Here we have like a guard force here. This is made up of both superpowered and just normal individuals. The normal guys will have on their wrists some like way to shoot out laser beams. As you see right here, they're just posting and ready, getting ready for Jason to come around as he starts stomping down the hall. They are very much afraid of him, as we see this guard over here. He's like over here damn near pissing himself. And just, he is frightened beyond belief. Jason comes around the corner, takes a look, and everybody just unloads on him. Now, this doesn't do shit to Jason. He just kind of is like, okay. Readies up a, what looks like a flaming hand sword. And takes out all three of the normies with ease. One slash, they're all gone. So now it's up to the supers. We got 3 supers left. And Big Chungus guy, he's going to take the first swing at him. Jason catches his hand, just kind of looks at him like, really, dude? Stretch Armstrong over here, it's like, I want a piece of this too. Jason just kind of flings them up in the air, holds them, and then zaps them in half with some laser eyes. So then Big Chungus is like, all right, well, hey, you know what? I got a second hand. Let's go ahead and swing with that one. And Jason zaps that arm off, and then finally the dude's head. And now guy 3 over here, he's pretty much pissing himself, and he wants nothing to do with this. But Jason's kind of gotten bored because he just blows up the whole facility. He's like, yep, we're just done. And so it just remains a big old crater here. Finally, he lands, and then a portal opens up, and a woman by the name of Mercy steps through. And Mercy is just an assistant, at least, for Dr. Benjamin Babel. And Babel just says, I see you've woken up a little early and apparently on the wrong side of the tube. And Jason simply goes, who am I? Babel says, well, if you want to know those answers, just step on into my office. And so then they go through the portal, and yeah, it's his office. And he's like, so I imagine you have several questions for me. And Jason once again reiterates, who am I? But then also adds, why am I here? Babel says, you, my boy, are the first step in the next stage of human evolution, a crowning achievement, and the first artificial superhuman. Like, he's really just all about this. And Jason just kind of stares at him blankly, like, okay. And then Babel continues on. He's like, actually, superhumans, not quite the term that we should be describing, because superhumans are usually born with 1 to 3 different powers, where you have been gifted with 6. So you are beyond a superhuman. We just don't have a name for it yet. And we're working on that. And so Jason's just like, okay, so why am I created now? And Babel is like, now that is the $1 million question. And so we learn that Babel has made Jason, like, he kind of like programmed Elohim's information in there. Like, okay, there's a god, and we're going to tell you all about him. And he's like, yep, I know. What does that got to do with me? Babel says, okay, allow me to show you. So he turns on the monitor, and we're getting to see exactly how Jason was more or less born, right? So there's the tube. And my camera's not going to show it, but in here is a little itty bitty speck, and that's little baby Jason. Now, Elohim shows up, and he is pissed. He's just like, how dare you try to play creator? You know, why do you think that is something that you should be tampering with? Now, Babel, most people, I think, would be very shaken to see their god just stand before them. Not only come before them, but also just extremely angry with them. Like, I think that would crumble most people. Not Babel. He instead says, well, you think you have a monopoly on creation? And Elohim says, you should not be trying to intimidate my power. Or imitate my power. What you're doing is not only dangerous, but also blasphemous. And Babel says, you're just scared that we're going to create somebody that's even more powerful than you. Elohim offers one more warning before Babel just blows it off. And so then Elohim says, okay, you know what? Fine. Go ahead. Finish your creation. I'm going to have a champion of my own, and we will see whose is the better. And so this is like basically what I'm taking away is this is Elohim saying, okay, fine. If I don't, let you just do this, you're going to continue anyway. There might be more imitators later on down the road. So we'll let you do your best, do your work, and then I will show you my power. And hopefully this will put an end to anybody else wanting to try it. That's at least how I interpret this, right? Like, fine, you know what? You want to learn the hard way? We'll learn the hard way. And then he disappears. And that's when they turn off the monitor. And so Jason's like, okay, so that's my purpose. And Babel is just like, yep, you're going to fight on the side of humanity and defeat Elohim's champion. But first, let's go ahead and get you a haircut and a new suit. So then we cut over with Mel. And he is waking up in just a completely blank area. There is nothing around him for miles and miles. And he's just like, hello? What's going on? Is anybody here? And then Elohim shows up and is like, oh, hey, this is a place beyond time and space. This is your inner, like, soul. And this is a place where you can communicate with me. And it does not matter. Like, time is not a factor here. So ask away. And so Mel is just like, okay, what am I supposed to do as your king of justice? And Elohim says, well, this is very simple. Wherever there's a problem, whether it's this world or the next, your job is to answer the call and stop the evil. It's like, okay, so am I basically a superhero? And Elohim says, yeah, if you want to simplify it and make it kind of childish, yes, you're a superhero. Okay, so what are my powers? I kind of got a feeling I kind of got a small grasp of things when I was fighting the assassin, but what all can I do? And Elohim says, well, you have one power, and it's just a fraction of my power, which is basically whatever. That's kind of just I get out of this one. And he says, your imagination is your only limitation. And this does kind of freak out Mel a little bit. He's like, I have no imagination. I'm not good with this kind of stuff. I think you got the wrong guy for all of this. And Elohim says, don't worry about it. You got it. You'll have it figured out. But also, I have one more thing I need of you. And so this is when Elohim explains the whole issue with Babel creating a superhuman, and we have Jason here. That Jason is very dangerous because he was created by man and not by Elohim himself, and therefore has no soul. Now, a regular man is dangerous enough, but now it's a superhuman individual. So this is really, really dangerous stuff. And it is absolutely important that Mel defeats Jason. And so Jason's like, yeah, no pressure or anything. Thanks. Elohim's like, look, you got this. I have the utmost faith in you. I picked you for a reason. And you will always have me with you by your side. And Mel says, how will I know when I can beat him? He's like, well, you'll know when the time is right, but now is certainly not that time. You need a little bit of training, so go get that taken care of. And now, before you go, I have to lay down some ground rules. Rule number 1, you will use this power to serve justice, not your own selfish desires. And rule number 2, you must never use this power to manipulate the free will of others. And then he poof, makes Mel disappear from this area, where then he wakes up and sees Eva and her uncle standing before him. And now Mel's a little off guard. He's just like, where am I? What's going on? And Eva says, well, you're in our house in the mountains. I say, what? Our house in the mountains. She kind of just lays it out very plainly. It's like, oh, hey, I remember you two. It's like, you're the girl with superpowers that helped me. And then looks over at her uncle and you did nothing. So I enjoyed that little bit there. And so we get formal introductions. We see that Eva is Evangeline Robinson, but she prefers to go by Eva. And her uncle is Gabe Robertson. And then they ask his name. He says, I'm Melchizedek Theologia, the King of Justice. Or just call me Mel for short. And they just kind of stare at him blankly, and it's like, say what? So he runs through his entire backstory, and it's like, does that make sense now? And Eva and Gabe are a little less than convinced. So he's like, all right, fine. And summons some of the fire in his hand. And they're sensing like a holy presence within that flame. And so their minds start to shift a little bit. Now, I'm not sure what kind of holiness that they're getting out of that, especially in like a superpowered world. I'm like, is there something special about this flame that I can't really tell being in black and white? A little nitpicky there. I wish that there was more to kind of show that there's like more of a holiness there outside of maybe just the feeling. Just because, again, we have a world in which superpowered individuals live. So somebody summoning fire shouldn't be that mind blowing right then. So just, I wish we would have had just a little bit more to show us that. But Eva's like, oh, are you some sort of superhero? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. Well, this excites Eva. She's like, oh, my uncle used to be one. He can train you. And Gabe is just like, whoa, I didn't agree to that. Look, I'm retired, and I wasn't planning on taking on any proteges anytime soon. Eva's yelling at her uncle. Is like, hey, look, this is like a thing from Elohim. Like, this is kind of destiny. You should be doing this. And so he sighs and he's like, let me guess, if I don't do this, I'm going to get a visit from Elohim. In which Mel is like, yeah, probably. Freaks out Gabe a little bit. He's like, fine, I'll train you. And so Eva and Mel, they celebrate, like, yay, woo! And Gabe then interjects and he's like, but you definitely need some combat training. And I was like, what are you talking about? You saw how I handled that assassin. And Gabe just kind of stares at him blankly, and Mel's like, all right, so maybe you're right. And then Eva then says, yeah, and also you need a shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Which Gabe is all too happy to assist with the clippers. You see he's looking a little intimidating there for Mel, and Mel's just like, oh, please just leave my beard. And so we get a couple panels showing how both Mel and Jason changed up their look. So now we got 2 fresh, clean looks. And then we get some Dragon Ball Z-like dialogue. It says, the champions are summoned. The pieces have been set. Elohim's champion versus Babel's champion. Let the battle of the century begin. Next time on King of Justice. But that's where our story ends. And yeah, there's lots of good stuff here. Some nitpicky moments, but nothing that I felt was really world-breaking here. Just a few things that I felt we could have tweaked, such as like the whole fire and how they're feeling a holy spirit coming out of it. I would have just liked to have seen something to make it a little easier for me to buy in on that, right? Just maybe like some sort of like ring or something to kind of help distinguish it visually for the reader. That way it doesn't look like just regular fire, especially when we're in all black and white. So a lot of just a few nitpicky things just like that. The characters, I very much like the characters. Like I like Mel or Jaden, Eva and Gabe. I really like how all 3 of them play off of one another. The humor typically hits for me. I was really enjoying that, like the blank expressions and stuff like that. That really worked for me. The villains, I for the most part like. As far as what we're getting out of them, it's just like they seem like villains to be villains, and I'm okay with that. I would just like to know a little bit more on them as well. But hey, if they're just, mustache twirling villains, I'm cool with that. That's fine. But I'm kind of curious as to where Jason lines up in all of this, and I kind of wonder. So, just a theory that I've kind of been putting together just a little bit, and we're only 2 issues in, so I don't have a whole lot to really work with. But I wanted to think that. Something that Elohim is kind of planning on. If Mel beats Jason, like I'm pretty sure is going to happen, perhaps Elohim will show mercy on Jason, who was not asked to be created, and grant him a soul. I'm wondering if that's going to be something that's going to be explored further down the line. And again, it doesn't look like he wants Jason to straight up be. He's not saying kill him. He just says defeat him. I don't necessarily am. I'm not hearing kill out of that. So I'm kind of wondering if that's maybe the route that we're going to go there, and therefore Jason will become a good guy and maybe just not have all the powers that he does, or maybe he'll still be able to keep them as well. Again, he didn't ask to be created, so I think Elohim will show him mercy, despite everything that he's going to do, and perhaps once he's granted a soul, it's kind of like in Buffy and Angel, where once Angel has the soul, he is trying to fight for everything that he did there, right? And try to make right all the wrongs he did. So that could be a route that we explore, and I think that would be pretty interesting. But time will tell. So I very much recommend this. Even if you're not like a religious person, I think you'll get a lot of good out of this. I think that this is more of an undertone with religion, even though we are dealing with a god like Elohim. It's not really coming off as preachy, but it's definitely there. So it's very good stuff. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. Like really, all I'm getting out of this is some nitpicky stuff, nothing world breaking. So very, very good. Kept me engaged the whole time. I couldn't really ask for anything more than that. And if this sounds like something that would interest you, be sure to check the link in the description where you can get a copy for yourself, or at least who to follow for any second chance campaigns that may arise. But that is all I have for today, guys. So until next time, take care and God bless.